Okay, so good morning. Um, so today I have just a little snippet of something that I was thinking about sharing, and shouldn't take me too long. But basically, what was the first thing I put? That God suffers. So I've been sort of wrestling with the idea that that God loves everyone, and watching a lot of these testimonies of people who have died and had near death experiences and gone to heaven and back. And the main impression that a lot of these people have is how much God loves everyone and loves them and loves, which makes complete total sense based on everything that's in the Word. It makes complete total sense if you think about God actually being love itself. Um, So that part doesn't really it doesn't, that makes sense to me. And it's actually it really helped me a lot to sort of really get my mind around this concept of God's total love. But I do struggle sometimes with where does that fit in with, what the Bible says about the wicked and what God Himself says, what Jesus says, like not long after I watched, a couple of these in a row, and I went back to the Word and I was reading the part about Jesus talking about Judas, like basically while he was in the room with him, and saying, that it would have been better for this, the person that's going to betray the Son of Man to have never been born. And I'm just like, yo, that's like heavy for him to say that. Um, like, what does he mean by that? So I know that his love doesn't nullify the things that he says about the wicked and the way that he feels about the wicked. I mean, the lake of fire is the embodiment of his wrath, and his wrath is a real thing. Tribulation is a real thing. Punishment is a real thing. We're all going to be judged. And so I've been trying to sort of reconcile all of that together. And, I've heard of a couple people, who went to heaven, and they all, can't wait to tell you that, God doesn't need for anyone to go to hell, and, that God's not angry, and that, that hell is a choice that everyone makes. And, I've heard a couple people really sort of go into detail about, they were able to feel God's emotions about those people that are in hell, and how it's just a grief that is just like beyond. And so while I think a lot of those sentiments are from people who maybe, grew up struggling with the idea of God being angry and this angry guy in the sky, for to have so many people come back and be like, "Hey guys, God's not mad." Um, I think that they're trying to reassure people who may have thought the same thing that they did. But for people like me who never was sort of in the dark, or, about the way that God felt about things, that kind of is jarring to my ear to hear that over and over and over. It's like, I just want to understand how his brain works. I'm not expecting it to not, I'm not saying, oh, this is a contradiction. I know just from the experience of, hearing information and being like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, I know that there's something missing in the information. And the other day, like, I was thinking about, one of my kids, like, I sort of, you have that kid that you sort of worry about. And it's a joke, but it's not, because, it's your job to raise these people. And so you just see them in their their infant state, and you go, oh, this behavior, this tendency, this this reaction, if this gets adult sized, it's going to be nasty. And so there's one of my kids, the middle, of course. um and I'm just like, man, I worry about this kid, man. I worry that he's going to get caught up in this world. He just really just dives in, and just I don't know, he's just very he's got, I don't know, I'm just thinking far into the future, sort of uh pre-panicking. And I was just kind of thinking about that in my mind, and I felt like I heard God saying, like, now imagine if he didn't make it. And like what he was saying was like, really imagine that and feel that. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about, him. I was thinking about him having a realization, seeing his face and feeling his, with my mom heart, feeling his discomfort and his, devastation, and all of that. And I was like, yeah, that I don't even know if I would ever have a good day after that. Like, I was just like, I would go through, it's like if I was in heaven, like, I'm just like, how would I be able to just have a good day ever? I would be going along, and then I would remember, you know what I mean? It would be like, oh, this is great. Oh, guess what? Who's not here? And then I would remember his face, and I would remember his, I don't know if I would even have access to see him or something. And would I just torture myself like that for, like, 100 years or something? I don't know. But it just reminded me, like, when I thought of that, I was like, well, that must be what God is feeling all the time. Like, he just must be feeling that all the time, because, I didn't even make my kid. Like, I birthed him, but I didn't, like, knit him together. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, but, if we're talking about God, he has the capacity to feel that level of suffering without it just completely debilitating him. But do I feel like he's not feeling that? He has to. It's that has to be what's happening. And then you think, well, that's just a lot. Like, why would you put yourself through that? Or why would you, everything, when any of us talk about suffering, we always go to the ultimate. It's like, well, why is this any of this? Why? Like, why are we even doing this? Why do it at all? But it's like, you know what? Maybe he went a billion years not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, and then one day he was like, you know, he clearly counted the cost before he did it and expected the cost. It still sucks to go through. I mean, it's still going to suck to go through. So even if you put any type of fail safes in place, I mean, I'm thinking off top, if I had the ability to create beings after myself, in the same fashion as myself, given freedom of choice, and just let them be like me and choose, I'm thinking 50% off top are just going to not make it. At least 50. You got to start at 50. You got to start and say 50 are going to go, I kind of like this other thing over here, and pick that. It just seems logical. So it seems outlandish. It seems like it's not possible, but it's like that this could even be real. But when you think about an infinite power source, and you think about, the importance of free will, the emphasis on free will, that we all have, this place has. It's like, it's actually not all of that strange and outlandish. And you think about the parameters involved, that's not even counting the devil, which is sort of the ultimate uh, villain of a story, which I don't know if you noticed, but stories have to have conflict in order for them to even be considered stories. Um, I might talk about that. I don't think I've done a video on that or anything. That was a major revelation I had one time. But yeah, so I was just like, wow, it doesn't even seem like a stretch. Everything is there for that to be true. And God is probably suffering more than all of us combined. Um, and I don't know, like, I don't know if it's going to get to the point, because, in the Bible, it talks about, after this age is over, and then there's 1,000-year reign coming after that. And then the devil's going to be released again after that. And then some other stuff's going to happen. And so, but then, there's not going to be any more pain. I mean, it literally says there will be no more pain. And, that's going to be considered the former things that have passed away. I don't know if that means, he's just going to completely shut off the valve and not have access to that anymore. I don't know if that means that, he's just going to be able, there's going to be enough joy, enough of us to sort of compensate for the whole of, pain that he has permanently. I don't know. Are we going to have the ability to somehow alleviate that for him? I have no idea. But I do know that, logically speaking, he is suffering the most. And he is exposed to the most. There's only so much suffering we can take before our mind will shut down, our body will shut down, and it's not the same for him. So whatever you want to lay at his feet, as far as, whatever accusations you want to make, like, he's always led by example, and Jesus is a perfect a perfect picture of that. But yeah, he's at first in line, and he's suffering more than you and more than all of us. The other thing that I was going to say was about the poor. And I was just thinking about homeless, the homeless crisis, or just the homeless situation in the country, and just watching the conversation on homelessness change over time. But the main sort of attitude is always like, what to do about, what are we going to do about the homeless? And now it's like, for a while it was, oh, well, just don't give them money. And then it changed to no, give them money. And now it's like, well, give them, they need socks, they need coats, they need clothes, and it's just kind of like, no, they need respect. They need dignity. And I think that, I don't know how many people truly believe that the homeless, or just the poor in general, are in any type of place of status on the earth, or that I don't know if people just really don't think about Jesus's words like that, or they just think it's pie in the sky, something you say. But the poor are genuinely, I think it's James where it talks about, I guess, the believers there, and wherever he was talking to, the letter he sent to them was, they were preferring the rich people and making the poor people sit in the back, or whatever they were doing. And he gives them this whole tirade about the poor being, in a privileged position. And he's 100% serious about that. And the rich being in a lower position on the earth. And I don't know how many Christians actually believe that, or actually, you have to understand what this gospel is to even make that logic leap, because everything on the outside would tell you that the poor are, that's not something you want to be in. And even us, we sort of fight to not be in their position. But I have been, I don't know what poor would be considered poor in the 80s, but, I grew up without a lot of resources. We had what we needed, but there was definitely a lot of money talks and bill stress and all that type of stuff. And just not having a lot, and hand-me-downs, which I happen to enjoy. I love good hand-me-down to this day. So that never really got, that was always kind of a perk for me. But so I actually quite, and then being an adult, obviously having your own poverty from just being at the bottom. And now, we're kind of in a middle class type place. And there's some things about it that about having God be in charge of your life that I kind of miss. And let's just say I had an opportunity to revisit some of those things. And like, I remember one of the things, like at, the peak of the money that we were making, I just remember just being completely disconnected from my money, like in a way, like we had a budget and all that, but it was just like, we just bought whatever we wanted. And it was like empty. It was like, and it was like things couldn't, I felt a tangible, like a grace left. And I don't know if it was because we relied on that money, or is it just a natural state of, when you get on your feet, or when you get more prominent and you need less things to go right, then your money becomes the thing that you rely on. So it would just be like things would break, things wouldn't be right. I would get like weird charges, and I'd be like, whatever, which is probably just not even responsible. But I'm not a responsible person, I guess. I don't know. But you would go to a restaurant, the food would be trash. It's like, that would never happen to me before. That never happened to me. Like every once in a while we would go out and it would always be nice. Like, and, I could see like things were just a toss up when you had money. It was like, and it just reminded me, like, there's other things that it made it very clear that there are other things in life that make things what they are, and money does not help at all. And once we sort of came back down in our income, and this year has been like, all the recession stuff, eggs being $5 and whatnot, it's like, okay, let's cook at home. What can I even do? And it would be like, oh, you can make this, oh, you can make that, oh, you can make this. Like, just having like this different, it was like I used my whole mind for like all the resources that I had. And when I just had money, it's just like, pay some money, pay some money, pay some money, pay some money, get this delivered, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And just blowing huge amounts of money, not having anything to show for it, and then not being able to do that anymore. And then suddenly I was like feeling like I was getting this mojo back of, realizing, oh, I can make this. Do I have all the ingredients? And would just have everything. It's like, oh my gosh, I missed that. I missed that so much. It was gone. It literally was gone. It wasn't an illusion. Like, I could feel it. I was like, I really thought that money, once you go up in money, it's going to add on to what you already have, and then it'll be even better. But it's like, no, it took something away. It took something away that I actually, valued as a not rich person. So am I trying to compare myself to that of homelessness? No, I'm just saying that I've always kind of admired, just being able to. There's people that kill themselves when they have $50,000 in debt. There's people that the thought of being destitute is just, they can't do it. And they end up doing these insane things just to keep from that happening. And then you got these people who are just destitute and they're just, are they chilling? Yeah, no, it's hard, but they're doing it. They're free in their mind. They're free. They're free from harassment. They're free from the threat of being blackmailed for everything they have. They don't have anything. So, there is a certain status that comes with, the earth is theirs. All of it's theirs. Is it hard to get? And people treat you like whatever? It's like, well, they do that anyway when you got money. It's like, what do you want to get in with people who are trash? And you guys just like lie to each other and pretend like you're not trash to each other, just so you can have friendship. It's like they don't have to do any of that. They don't have to, anyone who's doing something for them is genuinely doing it for them. I mean, I'm sure there's photo ops out there and all that, but it's like, when you get some charity, it's a genuine thing. That's a joy. It's unexpected. You didn't know it was going to happen. And, they're not starving. They're getting taken care of day to day. And, I'm really coming across a lot of scriptures about just pouring yourself out for the hungry and, giving to the poor. And it's like, this is the fast that I prefer, is that you bring the poor into your house and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, man, God's serious about this. Like, he values these people. And, I understand. It's like these people, they're not out there being fake. They're people who, they just can't, either they can't live like everybody else, or sometimes they had a whole life before that happened to them or whatever. And it's just a profound thing. And so yeah, I've just been thinking about that, and just like how we still kind of treat the poor as like, well, what are we going to do about them? It's like, leave them alone. Leave them alone. You can do things to make them more comfortable, I guess, but they need dignity, they need prayer, they need it's like, if you're a Christian and you want to do something for it, it's like, don't get caught up in this machine of what they need is the material, physical thing, and that's what's going to show that we care. It's like, no. Go out there and bless them and prophesy and tell them that they're loved by God and that God sees them. Like, that's what you need to do. It's not just, let's give them toothbrushes and you just kind of like throw a maintenance, what do you call it? A freaking hygiene bag at them from your window. It's like, they're people of dignity, and you need to have respect and, show them that they have great dignity in the eyes of God. Whatever that looks like. Yeah, give them a job, but it's like, honestly, if they have escaped the W-2 life, let them be free. Don't hurry and rush them in. Oh, let's teach you how to code. It's like, bro, so they can join a rat race and be in a bots all day? No, give him the gospel so that he can go out and give people the gospel and be on the street and have joy. And people be like, what? I'm so confused. How did you get this joy? You have nothing. So, yeah, I hope I conveyed that. It was, when it was simmering inside of me, it was really profound. So I don't know if I was able to convey that, but anyway, so I said that, and I think next time I will probably try to do the testimony, because I know I need to do it, and sooner than later, unless something else more pressing comes up. And so I think once I get that out, I'll be done. So yeah. Well, anyway, God bless you guys. And oh, it's Sunday, isn't it? Well, happy church day to somebody. Clearly, your girl doesn't go to church. I have a church, like, I don't know, I had one, have one, had I'm sure if I showed up, they wouldn't be like, what are you doing here? But anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other video. Y'all be blessed. I'll see y'all later.